I have snuck on again, so there may not be anybody on, but I wanted to continue what I was playing with on the piece that I posted earlier today. And so this is a frame that I was working on to go with the tulips that I painted in Sandy McTeer's Adventure of Art, Adventure in Art, Adventure of Art. It's her membership group. And so this was one of the recent classes that we did. She has some amazing designs and programs and classes in her membership group if you are interested in checking it out. But this she had done as a journal page, but because I really like my mixed media, I often I go ahead and I make everything dimensional. So I had done these tulips on MDF wood where I'd cut them out. And as I mentioned, I wanted to just kind of show you how I did the background. There's so many different ways to do a background, and it really depends on kind of what your subject is that you're working with and some of the things that you have handy. This piece probably still needs some butterflies. So you do think, Loretta, it needs butterfly. So if anyone is on and wants to vote, do you like it with the gold and white butterfly? I think the gold one works better up there. Kind of gets lost there, and that's too brash. So the gold and white butterfly, I haven't glued these down yet, so you're helping me to make this decision. So these are Prima Marketing butterflies. Or if I should go colorful and do this butterfly that matches the frame and this one that kind of matches the teal. So if you're watching on replay, you're watching live, tell me if you like the colored ones or the white and gold one. So this is much more subtle and it kind of picks up some of the bling. Or if you prefer that. So vote. Okay. So what I was going to do is just kind of show you what I did to create this background. And again, it changes every time you do it. It's never going to look the same. And you can use a background like this for any kind of mixed media project that you're doing. So you could put wood on top of it, or say after you do the background, you can come back and block out the area, trace on a pattern, and paint something on. The only thing sometime with the colored backgrounds is some of these colors may want to leach out. So that's the only thing I would caution you about. But then again, that's fine. That's mixed media. You may get some color coming through. Okay, so when you're starting with some of these papers and decor transfers, and I'll show you what I'm talking about in a second, it's always helpful to have a base coat down on your surface, because otherwise some of these products may look dull. So you probably want a fairly light paint on your surface so that the papers look brighter and the decor transfers show clear and bright as well. And when I'm talking about decor transfers, let me show you. Let me just get rid of I had my little picture up here. Okay, let me get rid of that. I don't need that hanging around. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I've got some old decor transfers here, and they're redesigned with Prima, or redesigned by Prima, and I do have some on my website. The thing I have found about Prima and redesign products, Prima is kind of the mother company. And then Redesign is like a subsidiary underneath Prima. Prima started, oh gosh, it's been before, right around the 2000s. I started selling them right around then, and they started as flowers. So they used to supply all kinds of paper flowers for scrapbooking and stationery and card making. So that's how I got to know them, because I started in card making and scrapbooking. And so I used to sell their flowers, which I continue to use. But now they've kind of advanced, and Redesign is the line that does like furniture flipping, bigger pieces. So its focus is a little different than just Prima, which still is kind of on card making and scrapbooking. And they kind of share some of their products, like their various gels. So anyway, Redesign became very popular because a lot of people were doing furniture flipping, taking vintage furniture and painting it, chalk paint, and then distressing it, putting these transfers on here. So these things, it's like the old-fashioned rub-on transfers that we used to play with when we were kids. So in the instance of what I did with the tulips, I had a painted piece that I wanted to put on a sophisticated background. So I had this. But you can build it up any way you want. Like you could have resin pieces that you've painted, or really anything to create this. Or if you're a laser cutter and you have any kind of laser cut pieces that you want to paint and put on here, maybe make it whimsical. So the background is just kind of your starting point, but it is helpful to kind of know how you're going to build it. So I'm going to build this background as if I had another set of tulips, which I don't. But anyway, I'm going to go with the idea that this is what I'm going to be putting onto my background, and I'll show you how I made this. And again, I just did a YouTube video that showed how I distressed this vintage boho frame. And this frame was created by Chris Howard of the Sawdust Makery. So that was a file I bought, and then I enlarged it so it would work with an 8x10, and I cut it out. Okay, so let us play. So whenever you're doing these kinds of backgrounds, really it's kind of like doing graphic design, and you're putting together a puzzle, and you're thinking about grouping, flow, placement, and what do you want your piece to feel like. So I have some old pieces that have been kicking around for a while. So I could, if I wanted, I haven't planned any of this out, so I'm just going to go from the seat of my pants. I could just put this on the background, but it is very prominent here. So if I was putting the tulips, that's going to really get in the way of what I'm doing. This guy is kind of interesting, but you're going to have that with the tulips, and I might try it just to see what it looks like, though. But it is kind of nice because you could put it like that in the corner and say the tulips are down here. It may be too much. It's probably too distracting for the tulips, but I still think it's cool, and I kind of want to play with it. And I like the way that the flower flows off the page. So sometimes you're looking for things like that. If you do this, your bird is trapped. So your bird really doesn't have a lot of flow in and off this page. And it, so if you put them down here, I don't really like that bit of the tail going off. So he's flowing off there. If you put it there, she's flowing off. So you have some movement. So that's always something that you want to think about when you're placing pieces as well. But yeah, this piece, Loretta, I agree. It's not going to work for what we want to do unless we do what I did with the previous piece. So it was the same size, but I wanted all this really nice script. And so I cut it. So I could do that. And like this, if the cherries are too busy, but I want these little guys, these little florals here. Yeah, without the lemons. So you could take little snippets and build. And this actually is kind of a nice piece for building. This is a retired redesign decor transfer. Anyway, I'm just going to start cutting some of these elements out. And I'm going to see, I'm just going to play around with placement. And I don't think I want it to be so repetitious that I do all four corners, because that might be too much. But I'm going to go ahead and cut it out anyway. And I'm just going to play with it and just kind of see what I like. So, and again, this is just the way that I create. It's just from the seat of my pants. I don't always have a mission, a game plan. So, let's see. That was kind of like that. And they don't have to stay in the same direction. It looks like they're kind of, they can pretty much go any direction. I don't know. I might just try them in the four corners. I might. Okay. So then they give you these little sticks to rub on the pieces. I also have a special tool that I bought from them. And whenever I need something doing a live, I can't ever find it. So I'm just going to go with a little wooden tool. And so when you lift this up, this area here becomes very, very, very sticky. So if you accidentally stick it on something, it will ruin this piece. So make sure when you're getting ready to come down with it that you like where it is, because it's going to grab and it's going to stick and you can't easily pull it back up. Okay, so I've laid it down and I'm going to go over it once with my wooden stick, and then I'm gonna start pulling it up. And as I pull, I'm going to rub. So, and if you let me go in a little closer so you can see a little bit more what this looks like. Okay, so as you pull, you rub, and it's still a little hard to see, but you should be able to see if you're going the right speed. If you're going too fast, it's going to want to lift, and then it may not come back down straight where you want it. So you might get some broken areas in here if you pull it too fast while you're rubbing. Now that has turned out absolutely gorgeous. I love that. I love that. That's gorgeous. Okay, so I'm going to just continue. And this just takes a little bit of time. So, you know, just bear with me. If you're watching it on replay, you can kind of speed along. So this is the kind of thing, if I'm doing a video for YouTube, this is where I'd be putting the music on and I'd be going like, you know, speeding it up 2 to 3 times faster. And you'd be like, oh my gosh, Kathy can really, she works really fast. So... down. I got one more to go here. So Redesign was one of the first that came out with these decor transfers, but there's a lot more companies now that sell versions of this with their own designs. So you can have a look around. I have some Redesign ones on my site. I don't, on twife.com. I don't know off the top of my head what's there. But whoever you buy from, you can get some that are less expensive. I think you can get some at your favorite craft store. But Redesign was one of the first that created this. And they can be pricey. I won't lie. They can be pricey. So, and I can't control that. As a Prima retailer, I am required to sell everything at what they recommend at the retail marketing price. So I got to go with it. Okay, so that's that. And it looks really good. Now, one thing about these pieces, you have to varnish them really good to get them to stay down. Or you can use gesso and some other sealants to get them to adhere and stick on the edges. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come up with some material fabric that I like. Okay, so this is another Redesign fabric. I just love this one. Look at that moth. I got to back out again. Hold on. There we go. Isn't that moth just gorgeous? I don't know if this one's been discontinued. It may have been. Now, with the tulips, that would be a little busy. But it's so gorgeous. It's really gorgeous. I mean, you could do the tulips. Or if I was wanting to do something else besides the tulips. So I could put this down. I don't know. It's really pretty. I have other paper as well. So this is decor. Well, this one isn't tissue paper. I don't have the label. Let me see. Let me grab this. Hold on. So it's really decoupage fiber. So this is a new one that came out. She's so gorgeous, this angel. So they're calling it decoupage fiber now. And that's because it's like a fabric. So it's really tough. So it really holds up to, like, if you're doing furniture or something, you know this is really going to hold up to your project. They used to have tissue paper as well, but they don't sell as much of that anymore. They've discontinued a lot of it. But I do love that. So I cut this piece here that had these cancellation marks. So that's what I used on the background that I just did. But there's all kinds of things, and you don't have to use the whole thing. You can just use pieces of it. I didn't know about going floral because I thought, you know, I don't want to compete with the tulips. Now I may end up wanting to use this background for something else, so maybe, you know, maybe I'm just gonna ignore what I said earlier and just do whatever I want on it. But I do want to kind of stay with some of the same colors because I'm going to show you how I use these Lindy's sprays. So, you know, I could like do that in there. So that's kind of pretty. Just this little bit. Or if I want it to be kind of like a window in the background, I could do that. Every time I do something like this and I cut a portion of this paper or this fabric, I'm like, oh, but I might want to use it for another project, and if I cut it, and it always gets me because I don't know if I can get the paper again, and it's hard for me sometimes to cut the paper. I don't know if any of you ever feel that way when you're doing things with. I know I was the same with my card making and scrapbooking. It's like I have to find just the right project. So Like, this is gorgeous, and, you know, will I want to use this sometime else in the future? Oh, if I use it now, I can't use it later. So that was pretty too. So all these weird things that go through my mind. And then this is a gown, which is a wedding gown. Oh, it's so gorgeous. I used this last year in a project, and it's just so beautiful. But that kind of competes with if I use it on a tulip. Now, if I wanted to just do a project and have this as my focal point, you know, I could do that too. So anyway, I'm just showing you some of the options that I have. So that's another gown. Okay. And this one's kind of a crazy one because it's got a car in it. I might take this one. I might use this one. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to use this one. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I've made my decision. So let's see. Let's see how deep this is. Okay. And I am going to use it the full. This isn't quite an 8 by 10. It's almost 10 inches. It was a piece of wood that was a remnant. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just cut it at the crease line here. And this paper just kind of zooms along. So, speaking of zooming, I still have my car left. So I can use that for another project if I could possibly figure out what. So you can already see this. I don't know if you can see it, but it's already wanting to lift. So that's why you have to varnish it pretty good or use gesso. So now I'm going to come back and I may have flipped it, and it doesn't matter if I flip that or not. It really doesn't matter. So, okay. So I want to keep that kind of central or not. No, keep it kind of central. So we will discover together what this is going to look like. And I'm going to go over the edges a little bit. I didn't do it on top and bottom because I was being kind of stingy and economical. I wanted to cut at the crease line, and I didn't want to waste any of the paper underneath, but here I will. And once it's glued down and everything is dried, then you can just sandpaper off the edges. So that's how you get your sharp line. Okay, so there we go. And I'm going to see. So I don't want to cover everything up completely. So I'm going to play with this. I'm just going to mess around with it. Okay, let's see. So I'm just going to do a little bit of fussy cutting around here and just zip that, leave that like that. And I don't know, I kind of feel like I need to leave that. So I'm going to go like that, so you can see some of that. And then I'm going to go in here, cut that. Alrighty. And then, let's see. Just go in and cut a little bit out of the corner here. Is this the right way to do it? I don't know. I'm just going to see how it looks. Okay. So, then to put this down, I have the soft matte gel, and of course all these pieces can be used in another project. I have the soft matte gel, and I also have, I can't get that off. Okay, so this is going to have a matte finish, and this is what I used in the project I just did. They're also selling the Decoupage Gel Shine, which is going to be very glossy. So there must be a need for it because they're selling a lot of it. So you know how we go in and out of trends. And I know a lot of you are going to stay satin and matte and you're never going to change. But I just wanted to tell you that apparently Shine is kind of popular right now. Okay, let me put this away. So, all right. I guess I don't want mine to be shiny. I don't care what the trend says. I'm going to go ahead and use my soft matte gel. And Deco Art also has a matte gel that you can use. This stuff is like crazy glue. When you get it on your hands, it'd be peeling off your hands for days. I mean, I don't care how much you scrub, it just sticks. And because of that, I also don't like to use my better brushes. So I have this old bristle brush that's been around the block more than one time. And I'm just going to kind of throw it on here. I'm going to go over all of it because, like I said, the edges on this want to start lifting. So I'm going to just throw it everywhere. Just everywhere. Okay. Okay, so then I'm going to lay this down approximately where I had it. Since this piece is dark down here, I might kind of go that to the edge. Okay, so then I'm going to smooth this out, especially where that crease mark is. So I put more of the soft matte gel down. And I'm just going to go over it on the top and try to make sure you get out anything that looks like a bubble. So I know I'm doing mixed media right now, but I do promise for my people who love the laser kits, I am going to do one soon. I'm just trying to get organized. So I kind of took all of January off. Okie dokie. So now what we're going to do, I don't like the way that looks, and I want to bring some different things in. So I'm going to dry the gel a little bit. Okay. So it's not quite dry. Now, I love this product, Paper Texture Paste. Whenever you're stenciling it works, I think, better than gesso. But I do have gesso as well. So this is heavy body gesso. And the reason I like that is that if you're using a stencil, you get a little bit of a relief in the stencil. And like if you're doing knife work, palette knife work, you see more of your strokes and stuff having a heavy body gel. So I really do like, I like both of these products. So, okay. So I'm going to do some palette work first, palette knife work first, and I am going to use the gesso this time. So I didn't use, I used this product on the previous piece with the tulips. Okay, well, maybe I'm not going to use this because this is dried out. Okay. Well, that's sad. I'm going to see if I have another container. Okay, this is better. sometimes the seal on these is not the greatest, so it can help to put them in plastic bags. I just never do. All right, here we go. So I do want to kind of hide my edges a little bit, but in doing that, I also don't want it to look like, you know, just an outline of my image. So I'm going to have to do some other random gesso work. So the gesso kind of helps to hide the edge, but also to tack it down. So, but you kind of have to be careful in some ways because the gesso will completely hide the pattern that you have underneath. And it's easier in this situation to pull the gesso towards you because it kind of deposits into that line, that crevice. All right, so let me turn it. So get it to go into the crevice, and then we'll worry about putting it in other places so we can kind of level things out, even things out, and it doesn't look like it's so symmetrical. But we do want to fill in those edges a little bit. Okay, so now that we did that, let's look at it again, this direction. Let's just add it here and there. So it's the gesso that's really going to pick up some of the colors that we're going to put down. And you can decide really how much of the image you want to show through. I kind of ended up hiding pretty much everything on the previous one. And you can come back, of course, and add more if you're thinking it's looking a little wussy and that you need more. So do you want this to look like a window, or do you want to just hide it, you know? Okay. So that's kind of a start. All right, I'm going to dry that. So I am going to show you these products that I use. So these have, they have mica in them, but they also have a vibrant dye, and they are water reactive. So you can seal them with your fixative and then varnish, but you will get some movement. And also, if you're doing artwork on top of this background and you've used these products, you may get some bleaching through. So if you don't want that to happen, you can create color washes with this DecoArt Media Fluid line. You can water them down, and you can use them in the same way that I'm going to do with the sprays. So if you're nervous about, like, if you're going to block out an area and do artwork, like you don't have three-dimensional wood pieces that you've cut out that you're laying on top, and you're going to be drawing and then painting something on, you might want to use an acrylic product and not a water reactive product like this. So, all right. So then I feel like, okay, we need something else going on. So we could come back with like some of our rub-on texts that we have. We can do that. And then I got this from Amazon. This is just full of washi tape. And some of the washi tape looks like postage stamps. And some of these pieces of paper you can layer on, like this is left over from something I had ages ago. Like I can stick that down there. Kind of like those mushrooms. Play with that. Okay, matte gel. All right. So I'm just going to stick this down. And let's just see what this looks like. Definitely need fingernails for that. Well, that tore like crazy. So don't let it go to waste. Put it down. And since it's torn, it doesn't really have those straight edges, which is good. Okay. And I'm going to just take this piece, put it in here. So I may need to go back and do a little bit more gesso because I want the texture of the gesso. And if it's covered up with the sealant here, whoops, it won't take the paint the same way, or the sprays. So I may come back. I probably should have done this before I did the gesso. Anyway, but this is just me, you know, flying from the seat of my pants, as usual. All right, let me get another piece off of here. Okay. Nope, this one, I've had better luck with them. This one is just being difficult. So I'm just going to keep pulling, and I'll use what I got. Okay. I'm going to put that one there. Okay. And go back over it with the soft matte gel. Alright, I got a little piece here. Waste not, want not. Put that there. Stick that down. Okay. And have another little piece. Let's see. Where can I put that one? Stick it right there. So again, I'm using this older brush because this soft matte gel is pretty unforgiving, and it will mess up your better brushes. So and I'm just going to go back over some of those spots again. Okay. So I want to show you this paper texture paste. You know, I was using gesso on the other, but I want to use this paper texture paste too. So I'm going to just put a little bit of okay, I'm going to put a little down here. So the paper texture paste is a little bit different. The gesso, the heavy body gesso, looks more like a plaster, And this actually has fibrous paper in it. So I'm gonna dash it here and there. Okay, so now we need to dry this pretty good before we go on to the next step, which is applying color. So once this is done, you can see that really I've hidden pretty much everything that I had created in the background. So really it's just to provide you a colorful canvas. It's not really supposed to be about the elements in the background. But if there are certain things that you can see, like with this, I wanted to see some of the script. So, and with this, I wanted to see some of the window and the shutters. So when you apply the paint, you want to choose and pick where you're putting it to see which of the elements you want to retain. So normally what I would do is I would allow this to naturally dry, but because I'm live, I can't really do that. So it's going to be a little bit wet when I'm putting some of this stuff down. Like this spot up here is super wet. And what I would have done too, like I said, I did it backwards. I should have put down the stickers before I did any of the gesso or the paper texture. And I would have used more of this to ensure that these pieces were sticking. However, I'm just kind of trying to quickly show you what it looks like and throw it together really quickly. So things, I'm kind of rushing things a little bit, but it definitely needed a little bit more of the soft matte gel. So like that was something I cut out. So in the garden. So something like that you can put on afterwards. Okay, so these Lindy's products, they start as powders and then you mix in, sometimes I will mix in water plus a little bit of my Final Fix. Let me grab that. So they come as powders and you mix them up with warm water. This is an old label. The new label looks like this. These are a little different. So the Starburst sprays are the ones that have the mica plus the colorful dye in them. And each time you use them, you have to shake them up to get that mica to move. So when you spray with this, they leave that beautiful dye, but they'll leave like little puddles of mica, which is just really gorgeous. And then the Moon Shadow Mist has the mica with walnut ink, and so it creates that sort of vintage look. And it's like anytime you're doing your art, you always need to shade because that provides you the contrast that you need in your piece. And it's the same with doing your mixed media, that it's always nice to have a little bit of the shade the contrast, the darkness, to bring out the brightness and to create that mood. So let's see. I'm just going to start spraying it. And again, remember that these are reactive with water. So they will move. You can continue to try to fix them with a final fix and then maybe a spray varnish. And they will be mostly permanent. But like I said, if you're painting on top, so say I draw my tulips on here, I block it out with 2 or 3 coats of warm white, and then I start to paint. There still might be some leaching that comes through, so just to warn you. Okay, so I'm going to start a little conservative. I'm going to use a little bit of the brown, and then I'm going to strategically put in some of these colors. So this is the, I love the names. This is Martian Magenta. Okay. So sometimes the nozzles get clogged. So let's just see. I want that. And each one kind of sprays differently too. Like that one is spraying kind of clumped in together. And now it's kind of arcing. So you kind of have to play with it. Each bottle is going to spray different. And this one is an orange. It's Hagswort orange. Yes, the Lindy's people do have a sense of humor. So this one looks like it's spraying a little bit more controlled. Okay. And then this one is Time Travel Teal. And again, you know, you want to mix it so the mica moves. So when it dries, like this little pocket right in the stencil is going to pool, and then you'll see that there's going to be a little glimmer of mica in there. So I'm going to, ooh, that one's really heavy. Okay, so if you back out a little bit, sometimes you can get it to do other things. Okay, I want a little bit more of this magenta. I'm kind of directing it because I don't want it just to spray everywhere. Okay. And now I'm going to come back with my brown, my moon shadow. Okay. So the next step, I don't really want it to run, but I want it to move. I'm going to take my final fix. Okay. So now it's starting to move. I don't want the colors really to run together. I just want them to move a little bit. Okay, so we're missing stuff in here. We need a little bit of orange, I think. Let me put a little bit of teal right there. So you can selectively move this paint around, this spray around a bit. So we need to get it to grab onto this stenciled area up here. So I'm just trying to think what color I want there. Probably a little bit of orange. A little bit of orange. So we're not really seeing as much of a definition anymore of our elements. Everything's kind of going to the back. But if there are some elements that you want to see, the fibrous paper will soak everything in. But like some of these stickers that we put down, you can daub the paint off of them. So I think there was one in there. And look around. There's some more that you want to expose. Or maybe I want to expose that bit of window there, shutter. Okay. Maybe up there. And just look around and see if you want to take any off. Now this area down here is feeling a little naked. So I'm going to just come in. Okay. All right, I'm going to dry it and just kind of see how it's feeling. So that's a bit of the moon shadow that I put down. So again, if you don't have these products, and if you're concerned that they might leach through any art that you paint on top, these media fluid acrylics by Deco Art, if you mix them with water or with like fast dry glaze medium or the final fix that I was just using, so water or any kind of glaze medium or final fix, you can create washes with that and do this same process. The only thing is it doesn't have mica. Now, that's not to stop you from using mica and mixing it with this and doing your own application with a brush, and touching it down in areas that you want it. Because I know not everybody's going to run out and get a whole bunch of Lindy's products. Okay, so you can see like this here looks like there was a sticker there. So if I want more of that sticker to show, since this is still water soluble, you can do that. Let's see, there's one right there. So just look around and see where you have your stickers, and you can lift it and that will give you a little bit of interesting contrast. Okay, so then I come back in and I'll add in a little bit more. I'll think about what are the colors that I need a little bit more balance on. So, and the other thing you'll see is some of these products will start to really become one with the gesso. So as they dry, they become less and less vibrant. And you can come back even, the next day and add in more color until you achieve that kind of look that you want. And if you want it to kind of sit on top of the stencil, you can really direct your spray into that area. So you can really see how here it's just settling in to that space. So that just gives you kind of a nice background palette to start with. Anyway, it does take a little bit of time for it to fully dry. So this one is a lot brighter than the one I did earlier, but again, once it continues to dry, it will become a little bit more muted. So if you have artwork then that you can put on here, so this isn't really designed to stand on its own. You need to do some kind of artwork, or you can do mixed media art on top of this as well. So once this is dry, these pieces on the edge will sand off. So you just get your sanding block, or if you have one of these items that looks like something that you would use in a pedicure. So it's made of metal. And it originally was available through Prima, but Prima discontinued them. So these things are really, really handy. I wish they'd bring them back. Okay. So I know on its own, like right now, you're like, oh my gosh, that's just so many colors. But it will continue to fade and change. And I'll go through a series of spraying the Final Fix. And every time you spray the Final Fix, you get a little bit more movement on these Lindy sprays. But I'll continue to spray this, allow it to dry, and then eventually I'm going to use the other spray. I will use the Natural Glass Spray Varnish. So I sprayed this really heavy. Normally you're supposed to just do it lightly. It's supposed to be a mist, just, you know, very light to fix your pastels or your colored pencils, whatever. But I'm using this as part of my technique here to get these paints to move, to get these sprays to spread. Again, I don't want them dripping into one another, so I'm not going to turn the piece. But that's why normally you use this, you mist it, you let it dry, you mist it, you let it dry, you mist it, you let it dry. So you do that anywhere from 2 to 6 times, depending. But this, you can see, I'm flooding the area with this in order to get my paints to react. So once I feel like there's enough fixative, then I will go on to light mists of this in layers. Mist, dry, mist, dry, mist, dry, until you get the level that you want. So that's pretty much how I did this background. And as you can see, it's going to look a lot different after it cures. So it will be more muted. And then it will be a wonderful jumping off point. Anyway, I just wanted to show you the background. I wanted to show you how I did this. And that is how I did it. And I know it looks very different when you don't have art on top of it. And it will take time to cure. But I wanted to share that. And if you guys have any questions, just holler. I appreciate you guys coming to watching the replay. And I will catch you another time. This is Kathy McAllister, T-Wife Creations. Bye-bye.